Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare.
Be sure to subscribe to our channel. We publish new videos every day. Don't forget, grab your smartphone and download the Lava Matra app and stay in touch. Guru Maharaj's message is your advantage. The following is a Srimad-Bhagavatam lecture given by His Holiness Jayapataka Swami Maharaj on August 31st, 2020 in Mayapur, India. The lecture was given on the occasion of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur's Vyasa Puja Day.
Karoti Vajalam, Pangalang Ayate Garim, Yatkivata Mahanmande, Sri Guru Ninatarinam, Paramananda Madhavam, Sri Chaitanya Isram, Harihi Om Tat Sat. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Vasudeve Bhagavati.
Vasudeve Bhagavati.
Bhakti Yoga Prayojita.
Bhakti Yoga Prayojita.
Janayatyasu Vairagyam.
Janatyasu Vairagyam.
Jnanam Chayat Ahaitukam.
Jnanam Chayad Ahetukam. Translation. By rendering devotional service unto the personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, one immediately acquires causeless knowledge and detachment from the world.
Purport by Srila Prabhupada.
Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Those who consider devotional service to the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna to be something like material emotional affairs may argue that in the revealed scriptures, sacrifice, charity, austerity, knowledge, mystic powers, and similar other processes of transcendental realization are recommended. According to them, bhakti or the devotional service of the Lord is meant for those who cannot perform the high-grade activities. Generally, it is said that the bhakti cult is meant for the Shudras, Vaishyas, and the less intelligent woman class. But that is not the actual fact. The bhakti cult is the topmost of all transcendental activities, and therefore it is simultaneously sublime and easy. It is sublime for the pure devotees who are serious about getting in contact with the Supreme Lord, and it is easy for the neophytes who are just on the threshold of the house of bhakti. To achieve the contact of Supreme Personality of Godhead Sri Krishna is a great science, and it is open for all living beings, including the Shudras, Vaishyas, women, and even those lower than the low-born Shudras. So what to speak of the high-class men like the qualified Brahmanas and the great self-realized kings? The other high-grade activities designated as sacrifice, charity, austerity, etc. are all corollary factors following the pure and scientific bhakti cult. The principles of knowledge and detachment are two important factors on the path of transcendental realization. The whole spiritual process leads to perfect knowledge of everything, material and spiritual, and the results of such perfect knowledge are that one becomes detached from material affection and becomes attached to spiritual activities. Becoming detached from material things does not mean becoming inert altogether, as men with a poor fund of knowledge think. Neskarma means not undertaking activities that will produce good or bad effects. Negation does not mean negation of the positive. Negation of non-essentials does not mean negation of the essential. Similarly, detachment from the material forms does not mean nullifying the positive form. The bhakti cult is meant for realization of the positive form. When the positive form is realized, the negative forms are automatically eliminated. Therefore, with the development of bhakti cult, with the application of positive service to the positive form, one naturally becomes detached from inferior things and he becomes attached to superior things. Similarly, the bhakti cult, being the supermost occupation of the living being, leads him out of material sense enjoyment. That is the sign of a pure devotee. He is not a fool, nor he is engaged in the inferior energies, nor does he have material values. This is not possible by dry reasoning. It actually happens by the grace of Almighty. In conclusion, one who is a pure devotee has all other good qualities, namely knowledge and detachment, etc. But one who has only knowledge or detachment is not necessarily well acquainted with the principles of bhakti cult. Bhakti is the supermost occupation of the human being.
Translation again.
Translation: by rendering devotional service unto the personality of Godhead Sri Krishna, one immediately acquires causeless knowledge and detachment from the world.
So, this is a very important verse.
So this is a very important verse.
So Prabhupada bases preaching on these verses,
Srila Prabhupada based his preaching on these verses.
by engaging the devotees around the world in devotional service. They automatically develop spiritual knowledge and detachment from worldly things.
By engaging devotees all around the world in devotional service, they automatically get knowledge and detachment.
So today is the appearance day of His Divine Grace Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur.
So today is the appearance day of His Divine Grace Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur.
He was born in a very rich family,
He was born in a very rich family
and he got educated in English and Bengali.
He got educated in English and Bengali.
So he was able to take out different projects and different books in English.
So he was able to take different projects and books in English.
So he wanted to spread Lord Chaitanya's movement all over the world.
He wanted to spread Lord Chaitanya's movement all over the world.
At first he saw that there were the Vaishnava Dharma of Sri Chaitanya had fallen into disrepute.
As first he saw that the movement of Lord Chaitanya has fallen to disrepute
Because of the different upper sampradayas,
because of different apasampradayas,
or each claiming to be the bona fide Chaitanya followers,
or each claiming to be one of the bona fide followers of Chaitanya.
but they are doing various immoral acts.
But they were doing various immoral acts.
And they didn't have proper philosophy.
They did not have proper philosophy.
I don't want to go into the details,
I don't want to go into the details,
but they all had some very wrong ideas.
but they all had some very wrong ideas.
Bhaktivinoda Thakur was trying to find a copy of the Chaitanya Charitamrita,
So Bhaktivinoda Thakur was trying to find a copy of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita,
but he could not find it.
but he could not find it.
That was how the movement of Lord Chaitanya fallen into such disrepute.
That is how the movement of Lord Chaitanya was fallen into a disrepute.
So Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he finally understood that the pure movement of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu
So Sri Bhaktivinoda Thakur finally understood that the pure movement of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu
was actually what fulfills this verse and these verses in the Srimad-Bhagavatam.
is what fulfills all these verses in Srimad-Bhagavatam.
Engages people in a pure devotional service.
Engage the people in pure devotional service
Lord Krishna, Lord Govinda,
of Lord Krishna, Lord Govinda,
and thus people naturally develop transcendental knowledge and detachment from worldliness.
and thus people will naturally develop this knowledge and detachment from this material world.
So, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he decided not to do business because of business people had to a certain extent, cheat and lie.
Sri Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he did not want to do business because in business, to certain extent, people have to cheat and lie.
At first, he started to be a school teacher.
So at first, he started to be a school teacher.
Because he thought that was more ideal. He didn't maintain his family. He got married when he was 12 years old.
Because he thought that it was an ideal idea to maintain his family. He was married when he was 12 years old.
So, then he quickly became a headmaster of various schools.
Then he quickly became the headmaster of various schools.
And he wrote some books in Orissa, on all the holy places in Orissa.
He wrote some books in Odia, in all the places
in Orissa.
In Odisha, all the royal places in Odisha.
In English.
In English.
And so he was the headmaster in Mayapur and different parts of Orissa.
He was the headmaster in Medinipur and different parts of Odisha.
And somehow the British decided to hire him as a member of their Indian Administrative Service.
Somehow the British decided him to be the member of their Indian Administrative Services.
And he became the first administrator of the Jagannath Puri Temple.
And he became the first administrator of the Jagannath Puri Temple.
At that time, he and his wife prayed to Lord Jagannath.
At that time, he and his wife prayed to Lord Jagannath.
They could have a ray of Vishnu.
And that they could have a ray of Vishnu.
They could have a pure devotee as a son.
They could have a pure devotee as their son.
And Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur.
And Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur,
he was born to them.
He was born to them.
And they gave him the name Bimala Prasad.
And they gave him the name Bimala Prasad.
It's all the Jagannath Prasad is offered to Bimala Devi and then to the public.
Since all the Jagannath Prasad in Jagannath Puri is first offered to Bimala Devi and then to the public.
And when Lord Jagannath's Rath came in front of Bhaktivinoda Thakur's house.
So when Lord Jagannath's Rath came in front of Bhaktivinoda Thakur's house,
and it stopped.
It stopped.
So Bhaktivinoda Thakur's wife came up with a baby and offered him at the lotus feet of Lord Jagannath.
So Bhaktivinoda Thakur's wife came and he offered the baby to the lotus feet of Lord Jagannath.
And then Lord Jagannath's garland fell over the baby.
So then Lord Jagannath's garland fell over the baby.
So like this, he wanted to find out which was the actual birthplace of Lord Chaitanya.
He wanted to find out which is the actual birthplace of Lord Chaitanya.
So he was transferred to Nadia district.
So he was transferred to Nadia district.
And he took out his residence in Surabganj.
And he took up his residence in Surabganj.
There, he got every day by horse and buggy to Krishnanagar.
Then from there he would go every day to Krishnanagar in horse cart.
And he would, at those days, the magistrates were simultaneously administrative and judicial.
In those days, the magistrate were simultaneously administrative and judicial.
So he would go and he would try cases
Then he would go and he would try cases
and would also see the administration.
and would also see the administration.
So apparently he did the cases very quickly,
Apparently, he did the cases very quickly,
and none of his cases were overturned in the High Court
and none of his cases were overturned in High Court
because he followed the law of precedence very meticulously.
because he followed the law very meticulously.
So at the same time, then he was trying to locate where the actual birthplace of Lord Chaitanya
At the
was.
same time, he wanted to locate where is the actual birthplace of Lord Chaitanya was.
And he saw that a light from Sri Mayapur,
Then he saw a light from Sri Mayapur,
and he realized that was the birthplace of Lord Chaitanya,
he realized that that was the birthplace of Lord Chaitanya.
because it said that Lord Chaitanya's kirtan would disturb Chantazi.
Because it was said that Lord Chaitanya's kirtan disturbed Chandkazi.
And the Chantazi place was established, that was known.
And the place of Chandkazi was known.
That was in Brahmanpukur.
That was in Bamanpukur.
It's about an hour away.
It's about a kilometer away.
So that was visible that the kirtan of Lord Chaitanya the sound could reach a kilometer.
So that was reasonable that the kirtan of Lord Chaitanya would reach a kilometer.
Some people are saying that the birthplace is in the present town of Navadvip.
So some people were saying that the birthplace is in the present town of Navadvip.
That's about 4 or 5 kilometers
That's
away.
about 4 or 5 kilometers.
Not reasonable that the sound would reach the Chantazi.
Not reasonable that the sound would reach to Chandkazi.
And Bhaktivinoda took Jagannath Das Babaji on his breast,
So
on his head.
Bhaktivinoda Thakur took Jagannath Das Babaji on a basket on his head,
And he went to the place where he had seen the light.
and he went to the place where he had seen the light.
He asked the local people, what was this place?
He asked the local people, "What is this place?"
He said, this place is cursed.
They said that this place is cursed.
Whatever we grow, simply tulsi comes up.
Whatever we grow, simply tulsi comes up.
Eggplant, tomato, nothing grows, only tulsi.
Eggplant, tomatoes, nothing grows up, only tulsi.
And then he walked to that tulsi forest with Jagannath Babaji on his head.
Then he walked through the tulsi garden with Jagannath Das Babaji on his head.
Then at a certain point, Jagannath Babaji, he was like 113 years old, he was very old, his eyes were kept open with matchsticks.
Jagannath Das Babaji was around 113 years old. He was very old. His eyelids were open with the matchsticks.
He could hardly walk,
He could hardly walk.
and so he was being carried on a basket.
So he would be carried out in a basket.
But at a particular point, he started jumping up.
But at a particular point, he started jumping.
Haribo! Haribo! So, like a transcendental Geiger counter, he revealed the exact place of Lord Chaitanya's appearance.
Srila Jagannath Das Babaji, he revealed the exact place of the birth of Lord Chaitanya.
I call that Yoga Pit.
And they called it Yoga Pit.
place where the Lord touched the earth
The place where Lord touched the earth
from the spiritual world.
from the spiritual world.
So, Bhaktivinoda, since he was a magistrate,
So Bhaktivinoda Thakur, since he was a magistrate,
he didn't want to take big donations because people may use it as some kind of a bribe.
he did not want to take big donations because people may use it as bribe.
So he only would take 1 rupee from each person.
So he would take only 1 rupee from each person.
Of course, at that time, a rupee was more valuable.
Of course, at that time, a rupee was more valuable.
But still, it was a very modest amount.
But still, it was very less.
Modest amount. Modest.
Modest.
So he went to 30,000 people and collect 1 rupee each.
So he went to 30,000 people to collect 1 rupee each.
And built the first facility at the birthplace.
And built the first facility at the birthplace.
And built a grass hut of Jagannath Mishra and Sachi Mata.
And built a grass hut of Jagannath Mishra and Sachi Mata.
So Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he organized his life very systematically.
So Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he organized his life very systematically.
He would give every day a certain amount of time for his family.
Every day he would give certain amount of time to his family.
He'd do his employment.
He would do his appointments,
He'd chant his japa,
chant his japa,
write his books,
write his books,
write songs,
write songs,
meet devotees.
meet devotees.
He had everything scheduled.
He had everything scheduled.
And he would do what?
When he would do what?
So he's like if you see his time scheduling, you see that he beats all the modern time management gurus.
If you see his time scheduling, you will know that he beats all the modern time management gurus.
His time was unbelievable, perfect.
His time schedule was unbelievably perfect.
So he also established a preaching movement.
He also established preaching movement.
At that time, he had recognized that Lord Nityananda had started the Namhata.
At that time, he recognized that Lord Nityananda had started the Namhata.
And that had fallen by the wayside.
That had fallen by the wayside.
So he restarted the Namhata.
So he restarted the Namhata.
And that we have written a book called Godram Kalpatavi,
That we have written a book called Godrum Kalpatavi,
which has details of some of the principles of the Namhata.
which has the details of some of the principles of Namhata.
So Bhaktivinoda Thakur had established his Namhata all over Bengal, Orissa.
So Bhaktivinoda Thakur had established this Namhata all over the Bengal and Odisha.
That was also mentioned by Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur.
Was also mentioned by Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur.
But he established 64 Gaudiya Mats.
He formed 64 Gaudiya Mats.
He mentioned the Namhata, but we didn't find much remnants of Namhata.
He did mention about the Namhata, but we did not find much remnants of Namhata.
I found two Vipana ashrams
I found two Prapanna ashrams
in South Bengal,
in South Bengal.
and those were originally established by Bhaktivinoda Thakur.
Those were originally established by Bhaktivinoda Thakur.
So, taking the blessings of all the Srila Prabhupada and his godbrothers,
Taking the blessings of Srila Prabhupada, his godbrothers,
we restarted the Namhata.
we restarted the Namhata.
So right now we have all over the world 10,000 Namhatas.
Right now, all over the world, we have around 10,000 Namhatas.
I don't have the exact number, but
I don't have the exact number.
and then for the urban Namhata,
And then from the urban Namhata,
we started the Bhakti Viksha groups,
we started the Bhakti Viksha groups,
which are small Namhatas
which are like small Namhatas
in the urban area.
in the urban areas.
So in this way, Bhaktivinoda Thakur had written many books.
So in this way, Bhaktivinoda Thakur had written many books.
He wrote the life and teachings of Sri Chaitanya
He wrote Life and Teachings of Lord Chaitanya
and sent that to different places, Canada, Australia.
He sent that to different places like Canada, Australia.
I also saw a copy at the McGill University.
I also saw the copy in McGill University.
He had made the Bhakti Kuti and Puri,
He had made the Bhakti Kutir in Puri.
and we're very fortunate that we got that.
We are very fortunate that we got that.
And we're renting from the Bengal government. We're renting it
We are renting it from the government
of Bengal.
of Bengal.
So I heard when Bhaktivinoda Thakur was magistrate in the Nadia district,
I heard when Bhaktivinoda Thakur was a magistrate in Nadia district,
he oversaw particular competition
he oversaw particular competition
by different students or different schools doing athletic competition.
where different students of different schools were doing athletic competitions.
So he had to do many things on behalf of the government.
So he had to do many things on behalf of the government.
But in his spare time, he would be researching the books of Lord Chaitanya and preaching.
In the spare time, he would be researching the books of Lord Chaitanya and preaching.
So in this way, we see that this verse that by engaging in devotional service to Krishna,
So in this way, if you see this verse, by engaging in the devotional service of Krishna,
one immediately achieves causeless knowledge
one immediately achieves causeless knowledge
and detachment from the world.
and detachment from the world.
By His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada,
By His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada,
taking the inspiration from Bhaktivinoda Thakur and his Guru Maharaj Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur,
taking the inspiration from Bhaktivinoda Thakur and his spiritual master Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur,
he spread the Krishna conscious movement all over the world,
he spread the Krishna consciousness movement all over the world,
taking the people to engage in devotional service to Krishna.
taking the people to engage in devotional service to Krishna.
The Prabhupada went to the Virnagar
So Prabhupada went to Birnagar
and said we should do something on the birthplace of Bhaktivinoda Thakur.
and he said that we should do something on the birthplace of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur.
At that time, his brother, Lalita Prasad Thakur, was present.
And that at that time his guru's brother Lalita Prasad was present.
So he discussed him, and initially there was some agreement that they would jointly do something to develop the birthplace.
So initially they had some agreement that they would jointly do something for the development of that place.
But the committee there advised against it.
The committee or the advisory they cancelled.
And so then Prabhupada became very impatient.
So then Prabhupada became very impatient.
And he asked,
Then he asked,
isn't it sinful? Isn't it sinful?
is it not sinful?
You can't develop the birthplace of Bhaktivinoda Thakur,
You cannot develop the birthplace of Bhaktivinoda Thakur
and then you won't cooperate with people who can develop it.
and then you don't cooperate with the people who can develop it.
Isn't that sinful?
So is it not sinful?
So, because he took Lalita Prasad Thakur as his guru's brother, so he took him as a Guru Varga.
So as he took Lalita Prasad, the guru of the brother of his guru, so he took him as his Guru Varga.
And when he said, I asked a question.
But he said, I asked a question.
A question is not offensive.
The question is not offensive.
I didn't say, you are sinful. I asked a question. Isn't it offensive?
I did not say you are sinful. I just asked a question. Is it not sinful?
So, like that, Prabhupada was instructing us how we should be respectful. But if we see something illogical, we can ask a question.
Like that, Srila Prabhupada was training us that if we find something illogical, we should not be criticizing, but we can ask questions.
So, still, that birthplace is a little developed
So still the birthplace is little developed
from what it was. But there's still much more that could be done.
But there is still much more that can be done.
And considering that Bhaktivinoda Thakur was such a great visionary,
Considering that Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur was a great visionary,
we should glorify him in a eloquent manner.
we should glorify him in an eloquent manner.
Still, Prabhupada, when they put him what recently, the time of Prabhupada erected a temple of Bhaktivinoda Thakur on the entranceway.
In the temple they erected, in Yogapith they erected a temple in the main gate.
They said that they're keeping Bhaktivinoda Thakur like a Darwan.
So they said, Srila Prabhupada said that they are keeping Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur as a Darban.
And he should be given a very big temple, big position, not at the doorway, a little temple.
He should be given a big position in a big temple, not like a door, like a darban or a gate, doorway.
Prabhupada had a very great appreciation for Bhaktivinoda Thakur.
Anyway, Srila Prabhupada had great respect for Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur.
And we're very happy to visit the birthplace of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, the temple of Bhaktivinoda Thakur in Godrum Dweep.
We are very happy to visit the temple of Bhaktivinoda Thakur in Godrum Dweep.
Also the Swami Kunja.
Also the Survi Kunja.
And today we're having the SGDA meeting in Zoom.
Today we are having an SGVA meeting on Zoom.
Saraswat Gaudiya Vaishnava Association.
Saraswat Gaudiya Vaishnava Association.
So, we held this morning from 9:30 till 12:30.
That will be held this morning from 9:30 to 12:30.
So, we're very happy that all the Gaudiya Mats and all the Istan are gathering to glorify His Divine Grace Bhaktivinoda Thakur.
So we are very happy that all the Gaudiya Mats and ISKCON are uniting together to glorify Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur.
So, the basis of our Krishna conscious movement is the desire of His Divine Grace Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur.
The basis of our Krishna consciousness movement is the desire of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur.
He predicted, which is written in the Bhakti Vinod Vani,
What he predicted is written in Bhakti Vinod Vani,
Vaibhav, that one day will happen when Kirtan of Lord Chaitanya will be there in Russia and France, in London.
that one day will come when the Kirtan of Lord Chaitanya will happen in Russia, France, London, America,
and he'll be chanting Jai Sachinandana, Jai Sachinandana.
and people will be chanting Jai Sachinandana, Jai Sachinandana
Kartals of the Jangas.
with kartals and mridangas.
He also predicted that foreigners will come from overseas
He also predicted that the foreigners will come from overseas
and participate in the Navadip Parikrama.
and will participate in the Navadip Mandal Parikrama,
And then they would join with the Indian Parikrama party
and then they will join the Indian Parikrama party
and then embrace them and chant Jai Sachinandana.
and will embrace them and will chant Jai Sachinandana,
Not considering any caste consciousness or nationality, any material distinction.
not considering any material distinction.
And saying that he wrote that during the British time when the British were looking down on the Indians.
Since he wrote that in the British time when Britishers were looking down at the Indians,
That was something inconceivable,
it was something inconceivable.
but he had this vision.
But he had this vision.
And it's saying how the different religions are like locked themselves up in a fortress, like a sectarian fort.
He was saying that how all the religions have locked up themselves in a fort like a sectarian religion.
Somehow they didn't understand there's only one God,
Somehow they did not understand that there is only one God
and that there may be different ways of serving Him, approaching Him.
and that there may be different ways of observing and approaching Him.
Now he was a true visionary and revolutionary.
He was a true visionary and revolutionary
To see how the different religions in the world could cooperate together on the basis of theism.
to see how the different religions in the world cooperate together with theism.
And still, we are yet to achieve that.
And still we are yet to achieve that.
Although there are different attempts at interfaith programs.
Although there are different attempts of interfaith programs.
So, his establishing of the true philosophy of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
So his establishing of the true philosophy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu
changed the whole system.
changed the whole system.
And was further propagated by Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada.
That was further propagated by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada,
By so A.C. Bhaktisiddhanta Swami Prabhupada.
and then by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila
Who
Prabhupada,
brought it all over the world.
who brought it all over the world.
Bhaktivinoda Thakur said someone will come
Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur said that someone will come
and he'll easily travel from one continent to another
and he would easily travel from one continent to another
and spread the movement of Lord Chaitanya.
and spread the movement of Lord Chaitanya.
At that time, there was no idea of planes,
At that time, there was no idea of planes,
and the way you could travel from one continent to another is only by ship.
and the way to travel from one continent to another was only by ship.
That's not very fast.
That's not very fast.
So he would said that somehow someone will come, they'll easily go from one continent to another.
And he said someone will come and somehow he will travel to from one continent to another continent very easily.
So it seems that he was predicting the coming of Srila
So
Prabhupada.
it seems that he was predicting the coming of Srila Prabhupada
At the time when we have the airplanes,
at the time when we had the airplanes.
so he visited the different continents.
So he visited the different continents.
He went to every continent in the world.
He went to every continent in the world.
He went to Australia, all over Europe, all over Asia,
He went to Australia, all over Europe, all over Asia,
all over Africa,
all over Africa,
Latin America,
Latin America,
Canada,
America, Canada,
and Japan, everywhere.
Japan, everywhere.
So he went the world about 12 or 14 times.
So he traveled around the world around 12 to 14 times.
And this is all predicted by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur.
This was all predicted by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur.
That someone would come
Someone would come
and do this service.
and do this service.
On his day of appearance, we're very happy to be observing.
So on his day of appearance, we are very happy to be observing.
And he is the epitome of this verse in the Srimad-Bhagavatam.
And it is depicted in the verse in the Srimad-Bhagavatam
By engaging in pure devotional service to Krishna,
that by engaging in the pure devotional service to Krishna,
one naturally develops knowledge and detachment from the world.
one naturally develops knowledge and detachment from the material world.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Are there any questions?
Question from Chidananda Nimai Das. Hare Krishna Gurudev. I have a humble clarification. How can we practically adopt time management following in the footsteps of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, knowing well that our mind is not willing to stay in a single place? Chidananda Nimai Das.
Now, this type of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, we have to make our devotional service as our priority.
Just like Bhaktivinoda Thakur, we have to make our devotional life as our priority.
When as a Grihastha, he had to give time for everything.
Because as a Grihastha, he had to give time for everything.
He had to do his work,
He had to do his work,
had to guide his family,
had to guide his family,
had to do some service,
had to do some service,
had to do some japa,
had to do some japa.
and wrote his books.
He wrote his books.
according to what your service is, you make a time schedule and stick to it.
According to your services, you make a time schedule and stick to it.
That was the example shown by Bhaktivinoda Thakur.
That was the example shown by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur.
He didn't space out.
He did not space out.
He stuck to his program.
He stuck to his program. While preaching to smart Brahmins, oftentimes it becomes difficult to make them unlearn and learn newly the teachings of Lord Chaitanya. How should we practically deal with such challenges? Gauranga Prasad Das.
You see, Stardust had a very partial understanding of the Vedas.
You see, the Smartas, they have a very partial understanding of the Vedas.
Many Smartas who met disciples of Narottam Das Thakur and others.
There are many Smartas who met the disciples of Narottam Das Thakur and others.
And actually the Vedas are very clear.
Actually, the Vedas are very clear
We should do devotional service.
that we should do devotional service.
And they don't, somehow, they never see those verses.
Somehow they never see those verses.
And so they don't actually have answers to these questions.
They don't have actually answers to these questions.
It's come up. So by knowing the Shastra,
Which come up. So by knowing the Shastras,
you can defeat the Smartas.
you can defeat the Smartas.
They all believe in the Shastra.
They all believe in the Shastras.
So that they don't know about devotional service.
But they don't know about devotional service.
So if you know the Shastra, you can show how the Bhagavad Gita, the Bhagavatam, different Vedas.
So if you know the Shastras, you can show Bhagavad Gita, Srimad-Bhagavatam, different Vedas,
How bhakti is most important.
how bhakti is most important.
It's like Parvati and I think it was the Srila Purana asked Lord Srila, what's the best worship?
So just like Parvati to Shiva, she asked what is the best worship.
So sometimes, we don't use these verses from the other Puranas.
So sometimes we don't use these verses from other Puranas,
But the Smartas, they're very attached to the different Puranas.
but the Smartas, they are very attached to these Puranas.
And sometimes we can say these lessons like what Shiva said.
So sometimes we can say these lessons like what Lord Shiva said.
Aradhananam sarvesham Vishnu aradhanam param. Of all the types of worship, Vishnu worship is the best.
Of all types of worship, Vishnu worship is the best,
With one exception.
with one exception.
Hatram Devi Tadiyanam Samarjanam. With one exception, those things connected, those objects, persons connected to Vishnu,
Those objects, persons connected to Vishnu,
worship of them is more beneficial.
worship of them is more beneficial.
So today, worshiping Bhaktivinoda Thakur
So today, worshipping Bhaktivinoda Thakur
may be more beneficial
may be more beneficial
because Lord Krishna is very pleased when you worship his devotee.
because Lord Krishna is very pleased when his devotees are worshipped.
And we recently observed the Radhashtami,
We recently observed the Radha-Ashtami.
and so she's very dear to Krishna.
She is very dear to Krishna.
By worshiping her,
By worshipping her,
you please Krishna
you
more.
please Krishna more. This is question from Sujitendra Prabhu. very humbly want to ask, what would Srila Prabhupada comment if he saw that hundreds of people are walking in with shoes to Bhaktivinoda Thakur's Bhajan Kutir, quote unquote Bhakti Kutir, which is turned into a restaurant?
Interesting question.
Interesting question.
On the first floor was the temple of Radha Krishna and Bhaktivinoda Thakur.
On the first floor, there is temple of Radha Krishna and Bhaktivinoda Thakur,
Everyone leaves their shoes, goes up.
and they
Everybody
everyone
leaves their
leaves their
shoes.
shoes and go up.
So, in the temple, no one wears shoes.
In the temple, no one wears shoes.
But this interesting point. To maintain the temple, have a restaurant.
But it is an interesting point. But to maintain the temple, they have a restaurant
Krishna Prasada.
of Krishna Prasadam.
So I don't know if they take off their shoes or not.
I don't know if they take off their shoes or not.
It's an interesting point.
But it's an interesting point.
Thank you very much, Hare Krishna.
Do you like our ad-free videos? Be sure to subscribe to our channel. We publish new videos every day, and don't forget to like and share our channel.